Today, we are going to talk about a very important topic. What is cloud computing, right? So everything in this 4 week webinar constitutes to how do you secure your CI/CD pipeline in a cloud environment. And the main reason why we are selected in this particular pattern is typically most of the organizations are running their web applications or their services online. And how do you go about and how do you secure it? Different components of it, right? So predominantly we started off week one with security awareness because a lot of people will not be aware of what are the security jargons and what exactly it means into that. That was done. In the second week, we went in deeper into pen testing, infrastructure security. How do you do that? What are the different stages in it? And then we saw that are the openings in that particular profile, right? And last week we went deeper into how do you secure a DevOps environment. The reason why we are doing cloud security is that where is this DevOps or DevSecOps environment usually hosted in current generation, right? So most of the time it will be hosted in the cloud environment. There is a sudden surge in recent times. A lot of companies are moving away from cloud and moving towards on-prem servers, right? But I think it's only the larger organization who have been heavily invested into cloud are moving out of it. But when you look into the smaller or medium size organization, they'll be still be more, being based on of cloud itself, right? There are very certain specular reasons why this happens out there, right? One of the reasons why there's a cloud reduction is because the computation is getting very cheaper. But as we go further, the cloud is also going to get much more cheaper. And again, the flow going to be back from on-prem to the cloud environment. Even though a lot of customers are going down, the amount of new customers are getting into cloud environment is quite high. And especially when these cloud providers like GCP, AWS, and Azure are predominantly increasing their cloud presence. In previously, it was more towards in Europe and US. And nowadays, you're seeing them, they are moving towards Africa, Middle East, Asia, and everything. They have increased in their presence. And we'll see, continue to see the growth in those patterns, right? So, but you might ask me before we go further, a lot of you might have heard what is cloud computing, it is the thing and everything. So what do you mean by cloud computing? What do you mean by cloud computing? And I also told something called as an on-prem service servers, right? So what is the difference between the two, right? In simple terms, what we can tell is someone else's computer, right? Someone else's computer is, let's say I'm having a very good server. What I will do is that I'll connect my server to the internet and I'll tell people if you want to run some services, or let's say someone wants to only use the server for a couple of days because they are scientists and they're doing analytics and they need the server only for a couple of days. Since they're only using for a couple of days, they don't want to invest in a new server, which is very expensive. Right? That's going to be. So it's like you don't want to buy a car, but if you want to travel out, probably you're going to rent a car out there just for the travel and then come back. That's the main reason of it, right? But here, right? So this is in the simplest term, that is what, so someone else's computer is using out there. But when you're doing in a large scale environment, the complexity goes beyond that, right? When you're dealing with millions of customers, millions of servers out there, and how do you connect them? How do you isolate them? All those things that came, very important criteria into that part, right? One of the main reasons why people move to cloud is cost, right? The main thing is that, let's say, think about you are a small organization and you're starting new, right? You're working somewhere and you want to start your own company. What is going to cost you if you want to start your own company, right? So if you're not going with cloud, if you're going with on-prem server, meaning you're buying a server and putting in your office, what is going to happen? You have to pay rent for the office. You have to pay very high amount for the servers. Servers are very expensive to start off with. And again, they need to have a maintenance. They have electricity, AC, cooling for them. And then again, an administrator has to be there for maintaining them. All the cost is going to be very high. The initial cost is very high when you're going to cloud, when you're going on-prem, right? If you're using a cloud environment, all you need, probably you can start it from your house, your company, and you just need a credit card to purchase your instance on AWS, and here, there you go, right? As the business grows, you can keep on investing more and more into that. It is not that you're doing a huge investment in the start and then it's going to pay that, right? And one more advantage is that the cost of maintenance, you don't have to worry about maintenance because someone else is maintaining it for you. The AWS, GCP, Azure, Microsoft are managing the services for you, right? And they also provide a better uptime, right? So the chances of backups, and when it comes to compliance requirements, it plays a very important role. A lot of companies sticking to cloud, especially in the organization I work with, even though they have an option to go on-prem, but they still choose to go with cloud because they provide a better security. At the same time, there's something called as a compliance. It is better manageable out there when it is on cloud, right? There's a lot of responsibility shifted to that. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about it today out here, right? So now, before we go, right, who is responsible and the user or the cloud provider? Before we talk about this, we need to talk about three types of services that a cloud service provide. One is IaaS and IaaS, infrastructure as a service. One is platform as a service. Another is
Sir, you are muted.
I think,
yeah.
sorry.
For how long I've been muted? For the entire thing?
No, no, just 1 minute or so.
Okay, okay. I think there's some issue with the Microsoft is Teams is behaving differently. Thank you for your info. So before we go into who is responsible for the security in a cloud environment, we need to understand what are the different types of services provided by the cloud provider, right? One is software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service, right? These are the three things that comes into play. In software